Hey guys, we're here with Dave Powers with Homebridge Financial Services, branch manager out of Ontario branch or
Rancho Cucamonga.
Cucamonga branch.
Nice.
Dave and Homebridge, you guys have been our sponsor here for a few years. We didn't really do sponsors this year, although you did volunteer, so thank you very much for that. So anyway, Dave is in the mortgage world, as you might imagine, with the name Homebridge. I've known you, for how long have we known each other?
I'm going to say at least 10 years.
It had to be more than that because you've been in Homebridge for 8 and then
Yeah.
Banker before that with PHH. So a long time. So great guy, super excited
Well,
to have
thank you. I appreciate that.
Well, and thanks for joining us. So let's just kick it off here. I've been kind of doing the intro with everybody, going back over the year that was, basically 12 months ago this week or so. COVID, lockdown, uncertainty. I know the answer already, but how was your year last year?
Well, starting on January, February of last year, nobody would have anticipated how the market was going to blow up and have the amount of volume. It started extremely slow. Then once March hit and just started calendaring out, our volume had picked up at least 200% from what we did the previous year.
Right.
So, and that was nationally, you could look at it. Anybody in real estate was successful. They had a phenomenal year and it just kept going. And as we migrated down into the end of the year, we were looking at, okay, is this going to be a repeat into 2021? And people were trying to get their course navigated and figuring out what that was going to be. And at the end of the day, we roll into 2021, and here we are. Our referral partners, our real estate agents, are working very hard to get sales closed, and the inventory has gone way down.
Right.
So that is a major concern that I have.
Before we get to inventory, though, so you basically, I'm assuming there was a little hiccup in March and April of last year, but then just tore right through the year. I don't want to put words in your mouth. Record-setting mortgage volume?
Record-setting. Like I said, it was like 200%.
Craziness. Non-stop through the fourth quarter. Sounds like we're charging pretty hard into January, February, March of 2021.
Exactly. Okay. And the Fed helped with that by bringing down the 10 years, so attractive rates were out there. So the refis really picked up, where we typically saw a 70% purchase market and a 30% refi. That it flipped.
Right, as it should.
Yes.
You got sub 3% interest rates.
That's right.
I mean,
yeah.
Good Lord.
Anything, in the twos, the low twos, 2.5. So get out there and dial for dollars.
Right. So you guys had a good year.
We had a great year.
Okay, so 2021 coming along pretty good. You mentioned inventory. So, we're in the Coldwell Banker Studios in Canyon Lake at Chuck and Margaret's office. Michael Wysocki is somewhere around here. I think he just got off an appointment and said he had 7 offers to present.
Wow.
Which, quite honestly,
nice.
I'm like, well, what's wrong with you? How come you don't have 37 offers
right.
to present? So that's got to be a problem for you guys on the mortgage side. It's a problem for us on the sales side. Buyers' expectations are, well, frankly, if we're not setting buyers and borrowers' expectations in advance, whether you have 7 offers or 30 offers, I mean, either 6 people are going to walk away disappointed or 29 people are going to walk away disappointed.
Absolutely.
So the inventory is a problem. Okay, I've asked a couple of other speakers, and I don't know, I didn't prep you for this, so I don't know if you've got an answer. If not, we'll move on. Do you see anything that's going to change that? Are you going to bring sellers into the marketplace, which are going to help us resell and help you do new mortgages?
Well, I think there is an opportunity, and I'd like to touch base on it. Where builders are trying to build them as fast as we can, that's not going to be the resolve. It's not going to happen.
They're not going to build them fast enough.
No, there's no way they can. So what has to happen is, let's face it, Lance, we're in a market that's extremely aggressive on home values. This is an opportunity that Fannie and Freddie hold about 2.6 million properties that are going to come out of forbearance.
Okay, when you say hold, they hold mortgages.
They buy the paper.
Got it.
So
okay, so nationwide, 2.6 mortgages with Fannie and Freddie Mac that are currently in some form of forbearance. Okay.
Correct.
All right.
So what can happen on that? Can some people recover? Yeah, absolutely. But I think it's going to be a small percentage. And then the others are going to wait and see, which I think as an industry leader, and what we need to do is educate all the communities that we're in and talk to the homeowners that this is a great opportunity, a great time to get out of that home at the extreme high value, which they can now take those dollars and put them in an investment account and just recalibrate their life. And it's okay to do that. Recalibration is absolutely what people need to do sometime. I know personally from my wife and I, we did that quite a few years back. And I'm just going to be honest that, you know, there's occurrences that come up in your life, and it's okay to say, you know what, I need to like take a time out and figure out where I'm going to go and
So a
segue to the next quarter.
recalibration in this would be, okay, I've gone, by the way, I just talked with Rick Hoffman, similar conversation in relation to how wonderful this is. It sounds horrible to say actually, during the year of COVID, the mortgage industry, the real estate industry, generally speaking, were unscathed. And not only were we unscathed, we business-wise had record years. That doesn't apply to everybody.
That's right.
Okay, I mean, entertainment, you know, I have a buddy who owns a restaurant.
Oh, that's horrible.
You know, it's
Yes.
horrible. Okay, so you fall into that category, you're in forbearance. At some point, I would imagine this year, there's going to be some resolution. Okay, let's figure out what we're going to do with these. So your solution basically is, well, when you get to that point, if you're not healthy and to come up with an agreement, sell the property.
Right.
Okay. Got
Right.
it.
That'll give us inventory back into the marketplace and give the seller that opportunity to take those higher dollars and put them to their advantage.
Right, and then recalibrate.
Right.
So I'm going to go rent for a little bit. Again, we can talk about the rental market. Goodness gracious! I mean,
Yeah.
in California, certainly Southern California, certainly in my world, there's this. We don't have enough housing. Period.
Right.
The builders, we need everything. We need rental units. You know, we're going to do a segment tomorrow, which will air on the market forecast on the 24th, with Steve and Todd with Back Porch Homes, and they're doing
nice.
they're doing ADUs.
Yes.
Okay, well, does that solve a housing crisis? I don't know. I mean, it sounds like a pretty cool idea if it fits for you.
Well, I think it can out there. I think that there's parents that are baby boomers that are moving in to their kids' homes, and I think there's a great opportunity there. And they have a product that, you know, and because of the setback rules and permits that the state of California has allowed, there's a lot more flexibility on it.
Well, there's a whole window. We'll get into that more. Stay tuned. That's coming. Okay, so let's get back to the forbearance thing real quick. Okay, so what can we expect? Is there a timeline or is it right now we just don't know the timing of this?
I think it's gonna happen because the forbearance was supposed to come out at the end of June 30th this year.
Correct.
So when that happens, then that's when we can see inventory coming back out to the market.
So I guess my question is, so do you think that that's a hard date? So do you think on before June 30th, people are going to be getting letters from their lenders and Fannie and Freddie and say, okay, this is where you are?
I think it's going to start, Lance. I don't think it's going to be like all in one shot.
Right.
I think it'll drip in because people on forbearance, whatever modification they had, they could have tacked on a few more months on top of that in order to get through that period.
To get to the,
You know, because let's face it, you know, Washington has made it to where, you know, be nice, play nice, you know, type thing.
Well, I'm asking on the dates because in the mortgage forbearance and the eviction moratoriums, or the rent forbearance, if you will, they've been kind of almost used interchangeably. And then the dates, I believe, are becoming somewhat interchangeable. And we have a segment on evictions, and there's a June 30th extension in California. It has nothing to do with what we're talking about, but it just feels like that date is going to be a September date, and then that September date is going to be a December 31st date.
And it could roll into 2022.
But at some point,
this stuff, it has to come on the market.
It's got to be dealt with.
That's right.
Right.
And what FHA is doing is let me back up a minute. Some of the servicers are putting the deferred amounts of payments, and they're tacking it on the back of the loan.
Right.
FHA doesn't do that. They record it in a second lien position.
Oh.
So you can still refi it out, but that's the way that they want to do it. So there's certain guidelines
So they wanted
that
to
go
keep
through
the
that.
original mortgage intact, so to speak.
Yes, and then you know what that amount of deferred payments are.
What about, I know, and again, I'm going back to, I think last summer when we first started talking about mortgage forbearance, and I may be wrong, but I thought that the concept was if you applied for forbearance, we're going to give you 2-3 months. Oh, and by the way, and then on month 4, you got to pay it all back.
Right.
That's out the window.
Oh,
right?
that's out the window
And
totally.
that's been gone. Okay.
Yeah, yeah.
Right.
Just because COVID just kept hanging in there, businesses are closed. I mean, like you said, we have to be cognizant of,
Right.
you know, businesses, restaurants, service industries. It's, you know, they had to come up with something to, you know, not be so harsh.
Right. Yeah, it's interesting. Manford Keel is going to be speaking. He keynoted last year. He's going to keynote again this year. And I just thought of this. When he did his presentation in March of last year, he kind of gave a 2-part forecast. And I don't know how we fell into this, but it was if the Coachella Music Festival happens in September, forecast 1. If it happens in April of this year, a different forecast. Well, the reality is it didn't happen in September, and it's not happening in April. Who would have thought?
Yeah.
I mean, we have
Not us. We thought, hey, we're going to get back to
Well,
some sort of new normal, whatever that is.
Right. But with that in mind, at the time, as we were thinking this through, I think when they were talking forbearance on mortgages, when that first came in, whatever that was, probably April or May.
That's right.
I guess everybody kind of figured, well, we'll be out of this by September, right?
Right.
Or sooner, or
Right.
August. I thought we'd be done
Yeah,
by the middle.
people
of
would be back to work. Income would be generated.
Right.
You know, to get
so those forbearance
themselves-
conversations all had to do with, hey, by the way, 3 months from now, be prepared to make up those 3 months payments. That's gone. Everything's
Yes.
getting either tacked onto the back or it's
Correct.
going to be done as second trust deed. Is that FHA only or VA too? I'm assuming, or just
Oh, it's all of it. It's
All of it.
it's agency, it's Fannie, it's Freddie, it's FHA.
All right, so you see an opportunity there, and I do as well. I do as well. I do think there's going to be a certain number of people who I don't. But okay, I don't want to put words in your mouth. As we've been getting through this, I used to do a lot of REOs, and I think still, if I'm known for anything, probably people maybe know me more for doing REO stuff than they do for my whatever I've done at Coldwell Banker. But so I'll get people go, oh my gosh, we're going to have a bubble, we're going to have this. Are you ready for the REOs? And I'm like, no, I'm not ready for the REOs. I mean, I'm ready, but do I expect them? No, I just flat out don't. Appreciation's been off the hook. When's the last time you did a bad loan?
Yes.
Don't answer that. Right?
Right.
I mean,
Well, I mean, if we look at 07, 08,
right.
what happened? We didn't have equity.
Right.
There was at least 50% of that equity fell off the map.
Right.
Well, this is a whole different case now.
We
We have high appreciation, and if somebody is in that turning point where it's just like,
Right.
I'm going to get back to work. I mean, things are going to be positive, but I just can't bring that current. That's what we need to educate
well, so
them
we're all
on.
in agreement, and I believe, we still have several speakers to come, and maybe someone will disagree. I will tell you
Well,
though, I
that's all
know
right.
that there are agents and consumers out there that are fully expecting foreclosures.
Yeah.
And I think they're wrong. I just don't see it. Again, getting
If
back,
it is a foreclosure, then maybe they can turn it,
unless they've done something unusual with their financing and somehow tacked on debt to the property. I mean, we again, in a prior interview in Riverside County, by the way, it was almost the same for LA County and Orange County and San Bernardino County. So don't quote me on the exact numbers, but I'm a number junkie. First of every month, I'm running numbers. The appreciation in the 4 counties, separate them out, was
That's
anywhere
right.
between 18 and 22, 23%.
Right.
year over
Riverside
year.
being very high.
Yeah, I think it was 22 or something
right.
like that for
Right.
the countywide. So everybody's got equity, and generally speaking, everybody's got equity. So again, I'm not seeing any foreclosure crisis, but obviously 2.6 million in forbearance. So you got to figure a certain number of those people are going to just say, you know what,
I just can't
I
bury
can't.
myself out
right,
of this.
Right. I'm in
Yeah.
an industry that hasn't been able to adjust and adapt.
Yes.
Okay. All right. On our pre-interview, you talked a little bit about interest rates. So again, you're my industry guy. You're my mortgage industry guy.
Right.
We've got some mortgage affiliates out there that are looking at this. So refi market looks like that might be
Yeah.
a little.
Put it on hold
let's
for a
just
little
put
bit.
that away.
But maybe around August, September, the 10-year could come down a little bit where we could see improved rates. But
Okay, so
right now,
you're forecasting. You're forecasting
Yes.
that. So we're going to see rates they've gone up a little bit.
Based on I'm really going off of MBS Highway with Barry
Okay.
Habib.
Yep.
And he anticipates that's going to be the trigger point.
Another commercial for Barry Habib. Not the first
He
time.
is. Well, he just won his third Crystal Award for being
Right.
right on pricing.
Well, you're not the first person to mention Barry's name on this, so
Yeah.
I guess everybody Google Barry Habib, and apparently all the lenders. God, Barry, I hope you're right, because if Barry's
too.
not right, everybody on the mortgage site is wrong.
Right.
Because it appears as though that everyone seems to follow him. Okay, so all kidding aside, so we've seen a little bit of upward pressure on interest rates the last month.
Yes.
So maybe if I'm reading between the lines, that kind of continues, and then August. What's so magical
September.
about? What would be so magical about that?
Well, I think the administration is going to get more in place. There's going to be, they anticipate, with everybody coming back to work, more stability in the marketplace.
Right.
And the Feds, they just announced today, Lance, that they are not going to touch interest rate. They're going to keep them at a near zero low, and that's going to be till 2023.
Oh, I missed that.
Yeah.
So I've been
this
doing-
is fresh off the press.
By the way, so we got to date stamp this. So this is being broadcast on our market 2021 real estate market forecast, March 24th. Today is actually March 17th, so we're pre-recording the interview here with Dave. So the Feds came out and basically said we're not touching Fed fund rate
No.
through the entire year.
That's right.
Yeah.
And they don't anticipate a high inflationary rate, so that's going to remain constant.
Right.
And I think that in the end is, it'll be more favorable on the bond side.
Yeah, really interesting. We're going to do an interview. Bruce Norris is coming up.
Oh, very nice.
He's going to,
Yeah.
well, he's spoke at darn near every one of these conferences I've
Mm-hmm.
had. And I think it was 2-3 years ago. Bruce did his market timing event, and his market timing event, the headline was 2% interest or something to that effect. And I got to tell you,
Right. And I said, what? Are you
well,
out of your mind?
everybody did. And we're like, what are
Yeah.
you talking about? That's what,
Right.
Bruce, why are you writing headlines like that?
Yeah.
Just to, clickbait kind of a thing. And he I remember calling him. He says, no, that's not clickbait. I believe that.
Yeah.
I'm like, wow. You talk about.
And he did that at your event when I heard that.
He did it that year. He does his own event, which
Right.
is it's a heck of an event. But it was the same year he came in and he did it at my event.
That's right.
And at the time,
And everybody was like,
well, I
what?
think
What
I
are
don't
you
even know
talking
where
about?
we were. I think we were 4.5% rates,
Yeah,
which oh my
that's
God.
right.
Imagine how horrible a 4.5% interest rate is. but at any rate, I'd be curious to see. I guess we're going to find out here in an hour or so what Bruce seems to think. I have no idea whether he's going to forecast rates, but we do appear to be in a. It almost seems like we're at a point of no return with interest
Mm-hmm.
rates, meaning they just feel like they're going to be low forever.
They're going to be low all the way through this year, and I believe for the first and second quarter of next year. And then, and the reason that I just say those 2 quarters is, again, we're going to continue to look at the markets on inflation rates
Right.
and see what's going on there. And I think it's better to project a little more conservatively and
Yeah.
just to go, hey, we're going to have great 2 years. Let's go at it.
Yeah, it's interesting. I just thinking as I'm talking to you, I don't think I've ever really done a forecast myself at one of my market forecasts. 10 years we've been doing this. I don't know that I've ever really projected out. I don't know if this is the right place for me to make my first projection.
I think it's great.
But I just can't see significantly higher interest rates at any point in the future. Forget a year, 2, 3. I almost feel like we're Japan, and they've now had close to single low digits, 2-3%, zero
Right.
negative interest rates
Yeah.
for, I don't know, let the economists correct me, but decades.
Mm-hmm.
So, and now we have another $1.9 trillion spending package on another almost $1 trillion package a few months ago, and another future. I don't even know how many trillions we're up to now, 6 or 7 trillion.
And it's a number that's unfathomable how much it's going to cost to repay that.
But let's talk to our buyers and sellers that might be in the market this year. I think everybody generally feels we're going to have very, very attractive rates.
That's right.
Maybe sub 3, certainly sub 3.5, sub 4.
And it's still very attractive.
It's very
as you
attractive.
indicate.
No reason not to buy. So, Dave, honestly, I could go on for hours.
Yes.
I've got too many speakers and not enough time, but I want to really thank you for coming in.
And thank you for having me,
maybe
Lance.
next year we'll be doing a live event somewhere.
Sounds
with
great.
a live audience, I should say. So, all right.
All right.
Thanks. Oh, we're fist
oh, yeah.
bumping.
Yeah.
All right, buddy. Thanks for coming in. Dave Powers, Homebridge Mortgage. And stay tuned. We got more coming.